So, friends, good evening. I welcome you all, and again welcome Yagnesh sir. Sir, all yours. Please start.
Yeah.
Before starting today's session, I would like to say a few words about Yagnesh sir.
Okay. शैलेंद्र बोल रहे हैं. हाँ.
Sir, if you permit, should I say a few words about you,
Yeah,
sir?
please.
Yeah. Please. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Dear participants, I welcome you all on behalf of Yagnesh sir and Mr. VK sir. This is 871st session of Yagnesh sir on accounting standards. He is the member of accounting standard boards of ICI since 2009. He qualified chartered accountancy course in 1983, and he's also a CPA since 2003. Sir, you have so many degrees.
ना ज्यादा नहीं है बाबा. डिग्री तो सबसे ज्यादा मैं देखूं अपने सेंट्रल काउंसिल मेंबर जय छारिया साहब की है.
Yes. So with these words, I welcome you, sir, and today's session is yours.
Thank you, Ji. Thank you very much. Good evening, friends. Good evening, everybody. And today we are going to dwell on the IndAS 103. This standard deals with the business combination. The standard is very lengthy, very long, so I am straight coming to this thing. And let me first introduce, give you an idea of what is business combination. This standard has this kind of amalgamation standard is 14 in India, but differs a lot from the AS 14. The reason being, this standard does not permit the pooling of interest method except in few circumstances and few exceptions. This standards recommends only one method, and that is the purchase method of the acquisition method. And this method is the only permissible method, and this method differs a lot more from as compared to our existing AS 14. And this is said to be one of the tough standards in days after the financial instruments. I'm expecting my partners, CA Yagnesh Desai and CA Hemant Bahedia here. So if they come, ask him to raise the hands. If I may send a message to them. And Shailendra, when Venkatji joined, please alert me, and you can interrupt and tell me that Venkatji has joined. Shailendra, can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, sir. You are audible.
Okay, I'm audible now. Okay, participants, am I audible to you? And please keep on responding to me by way of a chat, because मैं हमेशा यही कहता हूँ कि केवल यही जरिया है कि वो एक ही माध्यम है जो हमारे बीच is linking pin, because I can't see you, you can see me. I feel really envy of you. That's fine. Okay, so now let's see.
Venkat sir is busy on some other call, so he might not be able to join today.
Okay, he might not be able to join today. That's fine. Okay, fine. But by any chance, if he joins, do alert.
Yeah, I will let you know, sir.
Okay, fine. So before consolidation, before we start on the business combination, I'll give you a brief idea as to when the consolidation is required. Normally, if you are holding about up to 20% holding in a company, then you're not supposed to do any consolidation. You're not supposed to do any equity method in the consolidated financial statements. If your investment is between 20 and 50%, then you're supposed to have the significant influence. And when you're supposed to have the significant influence between 20 to 50%, and when you have, okay, I'm so sorry about it from the current slide. And when you have the significant influence, friends, you have to apply the equity method in associate. It is known as the investment in associates, and in this 2028 is applied, and you have to apply the equity method. I must tell you at this point in time that equity method is also applicable under IndAS in case of the joint ventures. If there is a joint arrangement, and if the joint arrangement is a joint venture, then also you are applying equity method. So under IndAS, you are applying equity method for both investment in associates and investment in joint ventures. Now comes the consolidation. So the first, if you have investment in another company of more than 50%, it is presumed that yes, the company, the investor has a control. And once the investor has a control, he has to then consolidate. And for this, now who decides and who lays down, which standard lays down the criteria for the consolidation or the control? I would say that is covered by IndAS 110. The name of the title is consolidation. Despite the name of the title being consolidation, it lays down the foundation of the consolidation, and that's the control. If the control criteria is laid down in IndAS 110, the title of this standard is consolidation. All right. So if you comply the conditions of the control criteria given in IndAS 110, then you move to IndAS 103. But I must tell you something, that in IndAS 110, even if you have a control, there are some exceptions and exemptions, like investment entity, investment company. Even if it has a control on the other entity, and the other entity can very well be defined as a subsidiary, it can still be it still need not consolidate the financial statements. This is just for your general knowledge, that every time you have a control does not necessarily mean that you have to consolidate, because there are some exceptions, exemptions. One of the prominent exemption is the investment company. All right, this is just to give the rough idea. But my dear friend, if you have more than 50% shares in a company, and it is presumed that you have a control, it is presumed that you have a control, and this is a rebutable assumption. Rebutable assumption, that means uh, uh, 50% के ज्यादा इन्वेस्टमेंट होने के बावजूद भी हो सकता है कि आपके पास कंट्रोल नहीं है। उससे विपरीत, even if you have less than 50% of the holding in a company, you may still have the control. So this is, it all depends whether an entity has a control or not. It all depends on facts and circumstances which vary from entity to entity. All right, now let us go to this. Okay, fine. All right. So IndAS 103 basically requires all business combination. They use the word business combination and not acquisition of an asset to be accounted for by applying the acquisition oblique purchase method. Now, this purchase method differs a lot more from the existing AS 14, and I'll show you how it differs. All right. Now, there is an exception. As I mentioned to you, the IndAS 103 does not encourage the pooling of interest method, except one thing, and that one thing is the common control. If the entities are under the common control, there's a slide next to this slide which explains you what are the common control entities. So except common control entities, all entities business combination have to apply the acquisition oblique purchase method. Now, as far as the pooling of common entities are concerned, entities under the common controls are concerned, they have to follow the appendix C to IndAS 103, and now this appendix C prescribes the pooling of interest method. IndAS 103 is not applicable also to joint ventures, acquisition, I would say formation of joint ventures, acquisition of assets or a group of assets that do not constitute a business. Now, what does it mean? That I think there's a slide coming up to there, but I'll explain you in a short while from now. So at that point of time, we don't need to debate on that. There's always a difference between when you acquire a business and when you acquire an asset or a group of assets. For example, if there's a running hotel and I acquire the entire business with all contracts, with all arrangements, with other parties, all trademarks or affiliations, all their of other facilities, for example, their F&B managers, F&B contractors, their logistics, their housekeeping, everything I take over along with the name also, then this is known as I've acquired a business. But as against that, I say, no, I don't want your brand name. I don't want any of your contracts. I don't want nothing from your side. I just need the skeleton of the building, which is the building premises and the furniture, fixers, air conditioners, all furniture and fixers. Then what I have acquired is not the business, but I've acquired a group of assets which do not constitute the business. Why is this important for us to know this? Because if you have acquired assets or a group of assets and not the business, then you're not supposed to apply IndAS 103. Then you apply either IndAS 16 or 38. Now, acquisition by an investment entity, yes, जी हाँ, मैंने यहाँ पे जिक्र किया था, entity acquisition by an investment entity as defined in IndAS 110 of an investment in a subsidiary that is required to be measured. Okay, now I'll tell you one thing. Suppose company A is a investment entity, and company B is again an investment entity. Then company A need not consolidate company B, provided the company A measures investment in subsidiary at fair value through profit and loss account. So this is just a requirement of the where it is applicable and when not. But I know you are all interested in actual number crunching. जी हाँ दोस्तों, actual number crunching भी करेंगे आपके लिए. Don't worry, we'll do the actual number crunching for you as well. No issue about it. Now this is an example of the entities under the common control. Now he is a parent. A parent has got many subsidiaries: subsidiary A, B, C, D, and E. So all of them have one thing in common. Can you tell me, guys, what they have common in between? What they have? You're loud and clear. Thank you so much. Okay, what they have common amongst them? Entity A, B, C, D के बीच में what is common thing, sir? What is a common thing, sir? What is a common thing, sir? Please tell me. What is a common thing? Can you tell me? Controlled by one single entity, one common entity, and that is parent P. Now let's see, when A acquires B or when D acquires E, does it change the ultimate parent before and after acquisition? Now let's see. A business combination involving entities of the business and the common control is a combination in which all of the combining entities of business are ultimately controlled by the same party. This all parties both before and after the business combination, and that control is not transitory. That control is not transitory. So इसे कहते हैं entities under common control. So when A acquires B or D acquires E, A and D need not apply acquisition method, but rather they have to follow Appendix C. And Appendix C describes what? Appendix C describes the common control, pulling of interest method. Pulling of interest method, sir. Okay. Now let's go for C. Now these are the stages of the acquisition. Now the control definition and concept is laid down in IndAS 110 consolidation. So once you complete the criteria, once you fulfill the criteria of the control laid down in IndAS 110, you, all right, let me tell you one more thing. This is very important for you. 110 does two things. A, lays down the concept of control, and B, lays down the procedure for consolidation. It lays down two things at a time. A, the concept of control, that means defines when an entity has a control over the other entity. Normally it's defined, the definition of control is like this: an entity, an investor has a control over the other entity when he is exposed to, or he has a right to, the variable returns from its involvement with the investee, and also have ability to affect those rights, those variable returns for his benefit. So you have risk and reward. When he's exposed to, it is risk, and when he's right to, it's right. So right and reward, both things are there. That's fine. And that's defined, that's the definition of the control given in the IndAS 110. And then it lays down various situations where a person is deemed to have a control, when there's a de facto control and all kind of stuff. But it also lays down the consolidation procedures, and which is same as per the Indian standards, no big deal. But the difference in the acquisition method, where you'll see how it is different from the existing pulling of interest method. All right. So you apply the criteria given of the control in IndAS 110, and then you say, okay, now let me consolidate because I have a control. And you say that if you have a control, you apply the consolidation procedures. But no, it's not like that. Standards say that before you come to the consolidations, my dear friend, what's आपने कंट्रोल हासिल कर लिया, अब आपको कंसोलिडेट करना है, मगर उससे पहले आपको विजिट करना है 103 नंबर स्टैंडर्ड. My dear friend, you have a control, and now you're very keen to consolidate because I'm only telling you 110 and is only telling you that yes, you need to consolidate once you have a control. But don't forget, prior to that, as a precursor to that, as a prelude to that, you have to do the business combination accounting. And this business combination accounting is prescribed by none other than IndAS 103. So they say that acquisition method. Now, what is great about acquisition method? I'm sure you must be very keen to know that. Now, acquisition method says that when an entity acquires the other entity, it has to remeasure all identifiable assets and liabilities of the acquiree at the acquisition date at fair value. If A is acquiring B, and let me do one thing, sir. Let me do one thing. Let me do one thing here. Let me pause for a minute, and I'll change. I'll change something. I'll share something new. I'll share something new, and this is this. Um, Next, can you see the Excel sheet on? Can you see the Excel sheet on your screen, sir? Please, can you see the Excel sheet, sir?
Yes,
Okay.
sir, it is visible.
Okay, okay, it's visible. Now, this company A is the acquirer, okay, and company B is the acquiree. So, what happens when the and the entity A is deemed to be the acquirer when he obtains the control over the other entity? Now, that control definition has to be as per the IndAS 110. So when A acquires B, A has to restate, I mean, remeasure, I would say, remeasure all identifiable assets and liabilities on acquisition date at fair value. There are some exceptions, I'll tell you. There are 7 exceptions to it, but the 7 exceptions, the acquirer has to remeasure. Now, this is despite the fact, this is regardless of the fact that neither A or B, none of them follows the revaluation model. None of them follows the revaluation method. Despite that, they have to measure. That A has to measure all identifiable assets and liabilities of the acquiree, that is B, on the acquisition date at the fair value with the 7 exceptions to it. So we'll see what the 7 exceptions are later on, but this is what we have to see. And now again, I'm changing the new share. I'm holding for a minute, coming back to that. And this is something. Okay. And now it is Zoom and new share again to be on safer side. Okay. So जी वीके साहब बताइए आप स्लाइड दिख रही ना आपको
हाँ जी सर.
Okay, so you take a call whether the transaction is a business combination or not. Because if it is not a business combination, then you will not apply in this 103. If you acquire the business only, then it is deemed or said to be the business combination. All right. And now, so first आप ये determine करेंगे कि हमने business खरीदा या assets खरीदे. अगर आपने assets खरीदे, तो in this 103 is not applicable. Identify the acquirer. कौन है acquirer? Acquirer after some stage, acquirer becomes the parent company. After some time, after the procedure of all this is done, acquirer is known as a parent, and acquiree is later on known as the subsidiary. Fine. So you determine the acquisition date. ये date बहुत important है, काफी महत्व है. The reason being, ये date ही important है because on that day you have to measure all identifiable assets and liabilities of the acquiree at fair value. And fair value is always time sensitive, a date sensitive. So recognizing and measuring identifiable assets, that assets which are assets and liabilities as per the definition given in the framework. So they have to be assets or liabilities as per the framework definition. They must meet the measurement criteria laid down in the framework of IndAS/IFRS. at fair value, and okay, at acquisition date fair value, and any non-controlling interest in the entity. Now we know what is a non-controlling interest. Very simple. The interest which is not controlled by you is known as a non-controlling interest, जो हमारे स्टैंडर्ड्स में हम पहले कहते थे minority interest. Fine. Now you have to also measure the consideration. Now measuring consideration is nothing but the measuring consideration at the fair value. For example, if the company A acquires company B, so when company A acquires company B, it doesn't have to pay the consideration to company B, but it has to pay the consideration to the shareholders of the company B. So company A कहती है कि चलिए मैं मेरे 1 लाख शेयर जिसकी फेस वैल्यू है 10 rupees, I am giving this to as a consideration of acquiring control in company B. But um, then what, how to measure it? What should be the measurement value? What should be the amount assigned for the consideration? The face value or the market value? The answer is the fair value of the market value. If the fair value of this asset of say 10 rupees face value share is 100, then it will be 1 crore rupees, and you are giving, it will be 10 crore rupees. 100, it will be 10 crores. 1 lakh shares into 100 rupees, it will be 10 crore rupees, and not just 1 lakh share into 10 means not 10 lakhs, it will be 10 crore rupees. All right. Then recognizing and measuring goodwill. Now, we all know that goodwill is always arising on the acquisition. Goodwill arises only on the acquisition. Acquisition date definition. Acquisition date, Mr. Somani, is the date on which an entity obtains the control. In case of the merger or the NCLT or the date of equity, that the date on which the order files with the MCA, no, it's the effective date. It is the effective date which is given in the scheme that it is being considered as a date of acquisition. Mr. Sumani, the effective date is the date which has been defined in the scheme and not the date when the order is filed with the MCA. All right. Recognizing and measuring goodwill. So goodwill always arises on acquisition in the consolidated financial statements, and it is never, self-generated goodwill is never recognized. Then there is something called measurement period. We'll see about that and the subsequent measurement. Fine. So we know that these are the steps in the thing. This is the slides concerning whether you acquire a business or you acquire the assets or not. Friends, I didn't feel like deleting certain slides because I wanted to keep it for your record. And after this deliberation is over, I will, as committed yesterday, I will transfer these files. I will email these PPTs to Shailendra Singh. Okay, sir. So this is just to indicate that whether, because in 1.5 hours business combination is a little tough time. I may exceed about 15 minutes or so, but I like to normally finish on time. So how the business is being structured? I think more than anything else, we need to know the concept of the business combination, how the accounting is done rather than too much of a theoretical aspect. And that is very important, sir. And we'll do some live examples here on Excel. So one or more businesses becoming subsidiaries of the acquirer. So now we hear A becomes A. If A is a parent company, company B, company C, and company D becomes the subsidiaries of company A, and this is known as the business combination. Or it includes the mergers. It includes the mergers also. That company B gets merged into company A, and then companies B's. Now, what is it? Why it is important that who is the acquirer? Because it is the acquiree's financial statements. It is the acquiree's financial statements which is getting, it is the acquiree's financial statements which is getting restated, remeasured. All the elements of the item appearing in the financial statements of the acquiree only are being remeasured. That's fine, sir. So that's why it's important for us to know who is the acquirer and who is the acquiree. All right. So one combining, now suppose company A is company A is an acquirer and company B gets merged. So company B's financial statements will be remeasured as per the requirement of the IndAS 103. And later on, there won't be any consolidated financial statement because it becomes only one company. But if company A acquires company B, which is a private limited company, and it is continuing, it continues its business regardless of the acquisition by the company A, then later on company A will have to prepare the consolidated financial statements. Um, uh, one combining entity transfer is net assets, is owners transfer, it owners transfer their equity interest in the other company, then acquisition date definition. Okay, what is I think I answered the question. I have not been able to see the other questions, other responses. Fine. Okay. मित्रों ये इंडेस 103 जो आज मैं ले रहा हूँ इसका एक ही मकसद है, only one objective, to just to apprise you with mota mota as to what is business combination and how it's being done. Now, if there are, can goodwill be amortized? I'll come to you later on. Please, Mrs. Somani, ek baat dhyan rakhe. There could be many other slides which are covering your questions, but I'll come to your point little later. Yes, goodwill acquired in business. Now, I should do one thing. Everyone in the meeting. Okay, I should, since you raised the point, goodwill acquired in business combination is never amortized, it is impaired. It is tested for impairment at least once in a year, at least once annually. That's what it says. So these are various mode of the consolidation, how the consolidation takes place. And now we'll see who is acquirer. Acquirer is one who obtains the control of the acquiree. The guidance is given in 110. Acquirer is the one whose business is getting that acquirer obtains. The business or the business that the acquirer obtains the control of in a business combination is known as the acquiree. The guidance given in IndAS 110 is like this. The basis for determining which entities are consolidated in the financial statements, an investor controls an investee when it is exposed to or has right to the variable returns from its involvement with the investee and has ability to affect those returns through its power over the investee. तो जब भी कहा जाता है कि इसने इन्होंने कंट्रोल हासिल किया. Now there are many other things which has been detailed, discussed in detail and deliberated in detail in IndAS 110 consolidation, when the standard which deals with the control concept of control, like you should have the existing rights which are currently exercisable, and you should also have the right to control the relevant activities, then only you're supposed to have the control. But that is discussed in great detail by 110. Now, control exists when normally they say the control exists when the parent owns half or less voting power when the entity has a power. जैसे मैंने कहा कि 50% से भी कम ownership है आपकी and still you have a control. So that is possible by virtue of an agreement or under the statute. Now, sometimes the government or the statute, these governments or the government says as per the statutory requirement, okay, look, even if you have more than 50% share, you will not be have the control. That is requirement, that is the statutory requirement laid down by the standard. Like that's why we see that in some cases joint, in some cases, even if you're less than 50%, you have even if you're more than 50%, say 60%, 70%, but the local laws say that no, the foreigners cannot have a control even if you have the majority. So in that case, the person or the entity which has less than half can also be can also have a control. Okay. Now again, to appoint or remove the majority of the members of the board of directors or the equivalent government body or majority vote at the meeting. So these are the states when you can you're supposed to have the control. Now there is one more thing, sir. I'll tell you. I feel like discussing. There is something called, there is a concept called concept of de facto control. There is a contract for the de facto control, and this de facto control is in fact controlled. The living example is, and this example is commonly quoted everywhere, is that of the Tata Sons. Tata Sons hold barely about 15 to 17% of the 15 to 17% of the holding in its many companies, but still it has a control. It has still the control. Why? Because balance about 83 or 84% of the holdings are widespread. They are held by the companies, they're held by many crores and lakhs and crores of people, and none of them has maybe more than 1% of the share. So this is known as a de facto control, in fact a control. All right. So how do you gain the control? How do you gain the control? By transferring cash. So if I am company A is acquiring company B, if A is acquiring company B, company A will pay to the owners, to the promoters of company B, either the cash. Now, when I say cash, means not the cash, by check or other assets, including net asset that continues the business. Maybe I may transfer other business. I may transfer one more subsidiary which I have. I may transfer the shares of that subsidiary to that company. I may transfer my shares to him. I may transfer my property, plant, equipment to him. I may transfer any of my other assets to them. So this is the way of acquiring. I mean, this is the way of paying the consideration. By incurring liabilities, I may say that, look, uh, you need to pay XYZ crore rupees to bank A, to the creditor A. You don't pay, I'll pay it to you. You don't pay, I'll pay it to you. I'll pay it to them. So this is by way of incurring liabilities. By issuing equity interest, that is what we say, that by you issue the shares and providing one or more type of consideration is a combination of all these three. Also is the way, the mode in which you are acquiring the control. All right. So then there's a concept of reverse acquisition. I'm not going to go into detail because for this you need at least half a day. So, but you should not think that I'm missing out the. Now, it's quite possible that a new entity is being, we've seen here that an entity which is issuing the equity interest is known as acquirer. जो कंपनी शेयर अपने देती है इसे कहते हैं acquire, but not always the case. Except reverse acquisition, we'll see that this there, and except in one more thing, a new entity is being formed to effect the business combination. A new entity is being formed to effect the business combination. A or B मिलके company बनाते हैं C. Now the company C's job is to issue equity interest, issue the shares to the owners of company A and the company B. The then company C is not considered as a acquirer. Company C is not seen as an acquirer. So we say, we have seen here the company which issue the equity interest is known as the acquirer, but here is an exception because that company C is a shell company. Company C is a shell company, and that company is not known as a acquirer, but one of the combining entities will be considered as an acquirer. So either A or B will be considered as the acquirer. Depends on the facts and circumstances of the case. Suppose A's net worth is 120 crores and B's net worth is 100 crores. So acquirer will be A and not B. So A will be the acquirer and B will be the acquiree. So in this case, A will be the acquirer and B will be the acquiree, because one of the entities will be known as a acquirer, not the C. Now, as against that, if there is a company C, which is the cash, which is already laden with the cash, which is its own resources, and if that company is paying consideration to the joining entities, entity A and entity B, then C will be known as the acquirer in this case. In this case, either A or B will be the acquirer, not the C. All right. Now, determination of the acquisition date. किसी participants ने प्रश्न पूछा था, what is the acquisition date? It's the date when an acquirer obtains the control. It normally means the date on which acquirer normally जिस दिन आप पैसे ट्रांसफर करते हैं, एग्रीमेंट को साइन सील डिलीवर करते हैं, normally that day is considered as the acquisition date. Not always, but depending on the pertinent facts, acquisition date could be earlier or later than the closing date. So now let's see an example here. A and B commences negotiation on April 1, 2010, in which case A acquires the business of B. Now agreement is closed on 15 June. Signed, seal, delivered. Close का मतलब signed, seal, delivered. And A obtains the control of B. However, the agreement is made effective from April 1st, 2010. all the prices are based on the market condition prevailing on 1st April 2010. What is the date of acquisition? चलिए मुझे बताइए मित्रों, इसकी डेट ऑफ एक्विजिशन क्या है? Date of acquisition is what, sir? 1st April 2010 or 15 June? Depending on the pertinent facts, acquisition date could be earlier or later than the closing date. And it could be same as the closing date as well. No, I don't agree with your answer, friend. The date of acquisition is 15 June. The factual matrix says very clearly that A obtains control of B's business, and that's the reason that you should be going by the facts and circumstances of the case and not the agreement. Friends, do one thing. Since we have very little time, what we'll do, I'll answer all your questions. You can answer, you can give your questions to the admins. हमारे दो administrators हैं, एक तो वीके साहब है and दूसरे अपने शैलेंद्र है. आप give it questions to them and I'll answer all your questions. Now we'll use some acronyms. AD stands for the acquisition date. AD stands for the acquisition date. Now on the acquisition date, acquirer should recognize identifiable assets acquired and separately from goodwill. So if there is a goodwill in the books of the I'm so sorry. If there is a goodwill already in the books of the acquiree, that goodwill will be ignored. If A acquires company B private limited and company B private limited by any chance has in his consolidated financial statement has a goodwill, that will not be considered by the A. Okay. So identifiable assets. What is the meaning of? I mean, I'm always stressing on this word, identifiable. That means they should meet the definition laid down in the framework. They should meet the definition given in the framework. So all identifiable assets acquired separately from goodwill and liabilities assume an NCI if any, provided they meet the definition laid down in the framework. And very, very important, my dear friend, exchange in business combination transaction and not a separate transaction. So they should form part of the business combination transaction and it should not be treated as a separate transaction. We are going to see what is the meaning of that. But right now, I may give you some hint for this. Not a separate transaction. What do you mean by not a separate transaction? Separate transaction means normally a transaction which is for the benefit of the acquiree, which is for the benefit of the acquirer or the post-acquisition entity. If anything is for the benefit of the acquiree or its promoters, then it is part of business combination exchange. It is considered as exchange in business combination transaction. If it is exchange in business combination transaction, it will form the part of your acquisition cost, not otherwise. Now, look at the last line here. Irrespective of whether they have previously been recognized in the acquiree's financial statement, it's quite possible that there could be some intangible assets which have not been recognized erstwhile hitherto by the erstwhile company acquiree. So kya karenge aap? So regardless of that, the acquirer has to recognize and measure such intangible assets on the acquisition date at the fair value. All right, now we have seen there, it must form part of the business combination and not a separate transaction. That means if it is a separate transaction, it will not be included in the business combination cost. So what is the criteria? The criteria is who is the beneficiary, acquirer or acquiree. So if the beneficiary is the acquirer, then it will not be considered as a business combination transaction, then it will be considered as a separate transaction. If the beneficiary is the acquiree, then the beneficiary, then it is considered as a forming part of the business combination and not a separate transaction. Let's see, primarily for the benefit of acquirer, or the combined entity for the acquirer, then it is a separate transaction. If it is a separate transaction, it will not form part of the business combination cost and not included as a part of the business combination consideration. So if I'll give an example, and it has happened in case of Barista and Lavazza. Um, Barista was acquired by a company called Lavazza, and Lavazza was predominantly and primarily into the tea business. Whereas Barista, everyone knows, it was the Barista was everyone knows was actually a coffee business. So what they have done, they said to the COO, Chief Operating Officer of the company, that look, you don't leave the job. You continue you don't resign, but you continue with us. And the company has paid, Lavazza has, for example, if the Lavazza had paid about say XYZ money, say 1 crore rupees to the COO of the um, uh, barista. So this is for whose benefit? This is for whose benefit, friends? Can you tell me, please, when the barista was acquired by Lavazza and this Lavazza has paid some money to the COO of the barista, then it is paid for whose benefit? Who is going to benefit later, acquirer or acquired? अगर barista का COO is continuing job with the newly acquired entity, then is going to benefit whom? Is it going to benefit the acquirer or the acquiree? Barista is the acquiree, and Lavazza is the acquirer. Barista is the acquiree. Mr. Somani, I'll answer your question. I know you repeated your question, but de facto, any control, whether de facto or any control, has to be demonstrated, and then only you can have the control, not otherwise. So you have to prove that just you have the de facto control, and then only this. So I acknowledge my partner, CA, Mr. Hemant Bahadia. So Hemant Bhai, welcome to this forum. He's my partner. He's a chartered accountant, and he's there with us since last more than 10 years. Welcome, Hemant Bhai. All right. So when the barista has paid a sum of rupees 1 crore to the COO of the barista, because barista, when barista's CEO was paid by Lavazza, it was predominantly for the benefit of the going forward. It was not paid to the promoters of the barista. So then, since it is for the benefit of the acquirer or the combined entity, it does not form part of the business combination accounting, and as a result of which, it will not be included in the business combination cost. So this is the criteria of what forms the business combination, because ultimately it impacts your goodwill. But what does not form part of your business combination? Example of the separate financing, separate transactions. Now we know that if the transaction is separate, it is not forming part of your business combination accounting. Can you see here? If it is a separate transaction, it is not included in the business combination cost. Fine, sir. All right. Now, example of the separate transaction does not forming part of the business combination cost. It will not feature. So 1 crore paid hypothetically by Lavazza to the COO of the barista is not going to be considered in the calculation of the goodwill, calculation of the business combination accounting, and calculation of the gain from bargain purchase. A transaction that in effect they settle the pre-existing relationship. For example, Lavazza had some pre-existing relationship before they entered into the business combination. They had some something to be paid on account of the purchase sales, or some kind of a loan agreement, some kind of a loan amount, some kind of a purchase sales amount to be payable. So those are not considered to be part of your business combination accounting. A transaction that remunerates the employees or the former owners of the acquiree for future services. I give the example that Lavazza had acquired the COO of the Barista, so the amount which was paid on the date of the golden shake hand paid to the employee to the CEO of the Barista is not considered. A transaction that reimburses is very important. Now it has happened in case of the in case of one of the companies where acquiree says that, look, I will spend all the money for the valuation, I will pay all the money for the legal charges to begin with, and then you reimburse to me later. आप फिक्र मत करो, आप मैं सब करूंगा, केवल आप मुझे बाद में रिवर्स कर दीजिए, whatever rate of whatever conditions are there, maybe 40%, 50%. So combination हो गया, सब काम हो गया, everyone is happy. Now acquirer is paying something to the acquiree. किस चीज के लिए? That is for acquisition related cost, lawyers fee, valuers fee, stamp duty. So these are not considered to be a part of the business combination cost. Later on we'll see that the business combination acquisition costs are never forming part of your business combination accounting, and hence they do not feature in the calculation of the goodwill. Now let us see. I had mentioned that at one point in time, irrespective of whether they have previously been recognized in the acquiree's financial statements. And here is an example. Intangible assets are to be recognized on the basis of the following criteria. This is the criteria of the recognition given in the IndAS 38. Now, very important. Regardless of the subsequent use by the acquirer of this brand name or the intangible assets, and regardless of the recognition by the acquiree, sorry, I beg your pardon, regardless of the acquisition by the, read this as an acquiree, please, I'm sorry about that. All right, here I have given two examples. One is a Vodafone and second is a Lavazza oblique Barista. Now, what has happened in case of Vodafone, that when the Hutch was acquired by the Vodafone, Vodafone has decided that we are not going to use that brand name at all, not even for a one day. So much so that they have not mentioned including previously known as Hutch or Mango or जो भी brand था, कुछ नहीं, Orange, जो भी brand था, कुछ नहीं. They are not even mentioning directly, indirectly, nowhere. So what does it mean? That the intangible assets तो वाकई में था. And in such cases, the acquirer has to recognize the intangible assets from the market participants' perspective. So whether Vodafone is going to use the brand Orange, Hutch, जो भी कुछ है, after whether you are going to use or not, they are still at minimum required to recognize this brand on the date of acquisition. बाद में अगर नहीं करते तो then they should do what? Now I am asking you a question. I'm asking you a question because all my good friends, intelligent friends, chart values are there with me, right, sir? So let me ask this question to you all. That when Vodafone has acquired the Hutchison or Hutch or the Orange brand, and they not use this later on, what they must have done, sir? What they must have done? After acquisition, what Vodafone must have done? What they must have done, friends? What Vodafone must have done or should have done? Answer my question, friends, please. Vodafone acquired the company, written off. That's fine, written off. I don't think so. That brand would not have been BOA. What do you mean by in BOA? Use customer data, fine. Use customer is not important. Is not an. It is an identifiable asset. It is a brand name. It is an identifiable asset, and the standard has given the list of which are the identifiable assets. What they have done, not impairment, not even impairment. They have done. They reduce the useful life of that asset. They reduce the useful life to asset to 0, and hence they have written off. But mind you well, don't use the word impairment. Written the reduced life. Yes, has written the not written the reduced life. They have reduced the useful life. All right. सो कहने का मतलब ये है कि उनको करना है. अब देखिए दूसरा एग्जाम्पल. When Lavazza had acquired the barista, उन्होंने ऐसा लिखा था कि नाम है ऐसा barista and बीच में लिखा था Lavazza. So they have concurrently promoted both the brand because Lavazza का कोई नहीं जानता था. barista में बोलो कॉफी करने के जाओ तो people will agree. आप किसको कहते कि चलो let us go to Lavazza for coffee, people will say no, let us go to barista. So उन्होंने क्या किया था, दोनों ब्रांड को धीरे धीरे चलने दिया and gradually they removed Lavazza barista from their banner and then it is only the Lavazza. All right. Now, here are the examples of the trademarks, trade names, royalty agreements, internet domain name, patented technology, order protection logs. These are the contractual and these are separately identifiable assets, intangible assets. These are the separately identifiable like Nexa and Maruti. No, 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 no. Nexa and Maruti is not a joint venture, is not an acquisition. Nexa is a brand developed by the Maruti for the internal purposes. उन्होंने खुद एक किया. For example, the Mashrik Bank has got something very important. They got some another segment and which deals only with the prime and primary VIP customers. For them, VIP customers, when they go to the lounge, they are treated like it's like an airport lounge for them. So when they go to this customers go to the bank, they feel they've come to some airport lounge. Why? Because it's a separate brand, separate treatment for them, like Imperia members and all kind of thing. So, okay. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Thank you. So these are the examples given in the standard. All right. Now, acquisition date को acquirer क्या करते हैं? What is the mandate? What is the agenda of the acquisition date by the acquirer? So identifiable assets and liabilities assumed are measured at fair value as at the acquisition date with the limited exceptions. Now, these are the 7 limited exceptions. No separate now this I'll explain what do you mean by no separate recognition of the valuation allowance. All right. Let me first explain about this. The company B has got some trade receivables or some kind of investment in the loans and the financial instrument. So what company B would have done, it must have provided for some kind of a valuation allowance or some kind of allowances like trade receivables, bad debts and all kind of things. So these are not separately allowed. Why? Because when you fair value a debt, receivable or the loan receivable, you have already factored the valuation allowances. So contingent liability you have to take into account and not at per the fair value, but at per some its own definition given, and they tweak the definition. They have tweaked the definition here. Recognition and measurement of the income tax, employee benefits, and indemnification assets are measured not at fair value, but at something else. Now, what is that something else? Have some patience. I'll explain you right now. All right, now let's go to the measurement. Now this is the recognition, this is the recognition and measurement, and this is only the measurement criteria. Reacquired assets, then share-based payments, and non-current asset held for sale. So these 4 points are very clear. Which 4 points are clear? Income tax, employee benefits, share-based payments, and non-current asset held for sale. These are to be measured as per these standards and not as per the fair value. अब रहती है बात दो assets की, indemnification assets and reacquired assets. Now, as the name indicates, indemnification assets means the asset which is going to be indemnified to you, Okay, you want an example? I'll give an example. दोस्तों, जब when the acquisition होता है, तो there are always some items, some cases which are under litigation. They may have preferred an appeal, and आधे की तो केस खत्म नहीं हो गए, scrutiny case pending है, service tax audit is pending, GST audit is pending. So there's always a likelihood that there could be some liability, which could be a contingent liability, and this which the acquirer will have to pay. अब acquirer pay करेंगे means after the acquisition, which is the only acquirer who has to bear all this. So it's like this. For example, there is a liability of about say 10 crore rupees for the income tax or the service tax. And now the acquirer says, look, I am not going to bear this thing. So you have to indemnify this, indemnify me for this 10 crore rupees. So they say fine, but the acquirer say, hey, not just 10 crore rupees, but little more than 10 crores. That's the estimated liability. I have to hire a consultant, so I need to pay to them. So the indemnification is nothing but the item which is indemnified. The measurement of the indemnification assets depends on the item indemnified. Now, reacquired assets. Reacquired assets are nothing but the asset which is, let's go by the verbatim definition. The asset acquired, assets which are my asset, but I'm acquiring again. That's why I call it reacquired assets and not the acquired assets. I may have given some franchisee agreement. He could be my lessee also. Correct. So I'm acquiring my assets. So those assets are measured not at fair value, but based on the remaining useful life. Correct, sir? All right. Besides that, on the acquisition date, acquirer does one more thing. It classifies all identifiable assets and liability on the basis of contextual terms which are there on the acquisition date, which are, for example, it has got some foreign debts and all this. So uh, the rate of interest for the fair value measurement of these loan will be not the rate of interest prevailing when the loan was taken, when the loan was already initially when was availed of, but the date of acquisition. So तब मान लिए लोन ली थी 10-5 साल पहले, तब इंटरेस्ट रेट था 12%, अब interest rate chal rahe 7.5-8%. So you will consider, you'll remeasure the, you'll measure the fair value of the liability, not factoring at 12%, but factoring at 7% or 7.5%. With the exceptions of lease contract and insurance. For this, it will be based on the inception date unless it is heavily modified. All right, so now let us do, okay. And where the acquiree is a lessee, you'll apply the IndAS 116 and you'll account for the ROU assets. This is known as the right of use asset. All right. Now, what has happened? This is now we are gradually coming to the, we are gradually coming to some number crunching thing. Now, what's how do you acquire? You paid cash or cash equivalents or given the other assets. So you measure all them at the fair value. अब ये fair value कौन सी दिन की होनी चाहिए? On the acquisition date. So you the calculate as a sum of the acquisition date fair value of the assets transferred by the acquirer and liabilities incurred by the acquiree and the equity interest issued by the acquirer. X7 except 102, which is nothing but the share bid transactions. All right. Now, okay. Very important, a contingent consideration is a consideration, as the name indicates, is a contingent. Normally contingent liability is not recognized, normally a contingency is not recognized, they are only disclosed. But what happens sometime that when you acquire a company like that, there are always some milestones of the achievement. कुछ ऐसे milestones ऐसे रखे, कुछ certain criteria रखी कि look, if the acquiree post acquisition is able to post net profit PAT XYZ percentage और EPS आपका 10 से बढ़कर 15 हो गया, या आपका मार्केट शेयर बढ़ गया 12% से 15%, या आपकी शेयर मार्केट प्राइस बढ़ गई इतने से बढ़ गई. So there are some criteria like this, and then you say that look, if you achieve your this milestone number 1, then I'll pay you 1 crore rupees. If you achieve milestone number 2, I'm going to pay you 2 crores extra. So these are known as a contingent consideration. Whereas we all know that this need to be paid not now, to be paid at a later date. कब पे करेंगे? जब ये आपकी हासिल होगी achievement, which is nothing but the time, the achievement dates on all when you achieve your targets, milestones. You're not going to pay it today, but then what you do is recognized as a part of the consideration transfer and measured at its fair value on acquisition date. So normally in such cases, they say that if you achieve your EPS more than, if there's a 20% increase in the earning per share, then I will do one thing, I will pay you 2 crores. If your EPS in the third year increases by 40%, I'll pay you another 2 crore. The fair value measurement experts then, value experts then measure the fair value, acquisition date fair value of such consideration, and that is being added as a part of your cost of consideration. Here is an example, sir. Mango Limited acquired a Mitch Limited. The consideration is as under down payment 20 crore rupees, which you can see here. A further payment of 5 crore if the market share is increased at the end of year 1 from 15 to 20. अब हमें मालूम है कि ये आज 1 साल के बाद होने वाला है, यहाँ पे 2 साल के बाद होने वाला है. In other words, I am not going to pay them today. मुझे कितना पैसा देना है? 5 and 5, 10 crores. But look at what is the fair value of contingent consideration is 1 crore rupees. So here I say that 1 crore is forming part of my consideration for the business combination. This is again an unusual concept as compared to AS14, जो केवल pooling of interest की बात करते हैं. अब हमने क्या देखा कि acquirer may transfer any of the assets transferred by the acquirer. It may transfer. Now the consideration can be paid to the owners of the acquiry. जैसे मैंने B private limited company खरीद ली, तो I have to give the money for acquisition of shares not to B private limited but to the owners of B private limited. B private limited के जो shareholders हैं उनको मुझे देना है. But sometimes the assets are transferred to the combined entity. Now let us see if the asset which has been transferred remain within the combined entity after combination, then do not recognize profit or loss. इसका मतलब क्या है कि you transfer these assets in the combined entity at the cost. Technically, when anything is transferred at cost, it is considered that there is no recognition of profit or loss. But if the asset transfer do not remain within the combined entity, but it goes to it goes to, say for example, the former owners of the company B Limited, then you recognize profit or loss. This is very important. Now अब हौले हौले हम बढ़ रहे हैं बहुत ही रोचक items, related items of this standard, because we are gradually inching to the number crunching. Let us see, we have seen that acquisition related cost. So description is fees paid to the finders. It is to be expensed out. Do not form part of the acquisition cost. Mind you well that any cost of this which is related to the acquisition cost are never capitalized. In other words, they do not form part of the cost of acquisition. Cost of maintaining all this. So, and again, last is very important. Cost of raising equity and debts. They are treated in accordance with 109. In other words, they are not expensed out, but they are reduced from the debts. For example, if the company has taken a debt loan of 1 crore and incurred an expense of 10 lakhs, 1 crore is a loan amount and expense related to for raising the loan is 10 lakhs, then the company will recognize in its books of accounts the liability of 90 lakhs and not 1 crore. That is the requirement of the IndAS 109. And thereafter, you have to apply the EIR method, effective interest rate method. Now see, block A is the consideration. Consideration is always measured at the fair value. Then there is something called non-controlling interest. As the name indicates, it is the interest which is not controlled by you. And fair value of previously held equity interest in acquiry at the acquisition date. ये तीनों का जोड़ करते हैं, इससे कहते हैं block A. Sigma A is your consideration. I got 2 examples, and for this we will crunch one live example for you. And block B is nothing but the net assets. We know the net asset is nothing but the assets minus liabilities, and this is the net asset. Now, assets minus liabilities have been measured at the fair value on the acquisition date by the acquirer. Now, let us see when block A exceeds block B, it results in goodwill. Goodwill acquired in business combination is never amortized but always pasted for impairment. Please remember. If B exceeds A, then it results in the gain from bargain purchase, and which is recognized in equity as far as IndAS is concerned. And as far as IFRS is concerned, the gain from bargain purchase is recognized in income statement. So now we will see the example here. And also I have got one slide about non-controlling interest. Now, there are two methods of measuring the non-controlling interest. One is the fair value and second is the proportionate. Ideally, the proportionate method is followed in a great deal. So this normally followed in the IndAS calculation. क्या बाउंसर गया सोमानी जी? ये बाउंसर गया, इसका एग्जांपल देखेंगे तो आपको क्लियर हो जाएगा मिस्टर सोमानी. धैर्य रखो सर, there is a number crunching for this. So when the consideration, the block A is the consideration, suppose you paid 10 crore rupees. So that is let us first take only one simple example. You paid 10 crore rupees and the net asset of the company B is 8 crore rupees. So that means your goodwill is 2 crore rupees. If you paid 10 crores rupees and your the net asset of the entity is 12 crore rupees, then it results into the gain from bargain purchase. Don't worry, we got some examples here and we'll see that once you see that it's clear. Now NCI for the timing is important for you to understand. There are measured two ways. One is a proportionate method, second is a fair value method. When the goodwill, and we'll see that. Okay, now let us see. I think this will make you things very clear. All right. ABC has acquired 7,50,000 shares of out of 10 lakhs. That means you are holding 75% and NCI is 25% of element at a price of CU 5 rupees 5 each. All right. So I have acquired 7,50,000 into times 5. So my consideration, that is block A, is 37,50,000 rupees. There should not be any problem in understanding this number. I believe so. Right. And now let us presume, okay, what is the next item? That element's net assets minus liability, that is the net asset was 4 million. 4 million means 40 lakhs rupees ke mere net assets. So I get a net assets 40 lakhs rupees here. Fine. So I'm clear about this. Are you clear about these two numbers, sir? 3750 and 40. Are you clear about 3750 and 40 lakhs rupees? Yes or no? Hello guys, are you clear about 40? Yes, 3750 is the figure I got from multiplying 7,50,000 by 5. I get 37.50, and this is the 40 lakhs net assets of the entity acquired by me. Now I had mentioned here in my formula here that NCI. Friend, this is a new concept, and that's why you will find it a bit weird, because we are used for some other method. And here, all right. So NCI is 25%. What is the net asset? What is the net asset of the acquiree? 40%. 40 के 25% कितने होते हैं? 10 lakhs. 10 lakhs is 25% of 40 lakhs rupees. So I add 3750 plus 10, 47,50,000 minus 40. So my goodwill is 7,50,000. What we used to, how we used to deal with, I'll calculate. इसका हम पहले calculation कैसे करते थे? कि okay, 37,50,000 rupees I paid for that, and I acquired only 75%. I acquired only 75%. So what calculation which we were doing, the number is same, but why this is required, you'll realize later on, because the company has to keep account of NCI also. So अगर इंडियन अकाउंटिंग में करता था तो मैं क्या करता था? 3750 minus 30 lakhs. कैसे आ गया? Because I am only 75% holder of the shares. So 75% of 40 lakhs is 30 lakhs rupees. So my goodwill was same, but here the presentation is like this. All right. So friends, are you clear about this part? Are you clear about 7,50,000 rupees? Just tell me. If you're clear about 7,50,000, then I'll go ahead and explain the other part. Hello. Guys, are you clear about 7,50,000 rupees? Yes, sir. Okay. Now, the second way of measuring goodwill, is fair value. Now, what I have written here, when the goodwill is measured as a proportionate method, when the NCI is measured at the proportionate method, goodwill is lower as compared to B, and when the NCI is measured at the fair value, it is always higher as compared to A. Now let us see this example. 3750 कोई नहीं फर्क पड़ेगा, 40 नहीं बदलाव होगा केवल यहाँ पे. The difference will be only here because here I am measuring NCI at proportionate method. Here I am measuring at the fair value method. Now let us read this. Estimated that the price paid includes a premium per share of 0.50. इसका मतलब क्या हुआ सर? When I paid 5 rupees, I have paid 0.50 extra. Why? Because I wanted to gain the control. I wanted to acquire the control over the other entity, as a result of which I have paid 0.50 extra. Fine, sir. So then what would be the fair value? Fair value will be 5 minus 0.40. That means fair value will be 4.5. Now I multiply 4.5 by 2,50,000 shares. 2,50,000 is the residual balance number of shares. This is the NCI, non-controlling interest. So 2,50,000 multiplied by 4.5, I get 11.25. And as per the formula given in the standard, consideration plus NCI minus 40 lakhs is my goodwill. दोस्तों यहाँ पे देखिए कि जब मैंने फेयर वैल्यू पे मेजर किया NCI को, my goodwill is 8.75, which is higher as compared to the fact that I'm using the proportionate method. Are you getting my point, sir? So this is 7.5 under the proportionate method, and this is 8.75 under the fair value method. Now, let me explain one more thing principally. When the NCI is measured at the proportionate method, the impairment loss is borne only by the owners. As against that, when the NCI is measured at the fair value model, then the impairment will be borne by both owners and the NCI. Now, I like to give a small simulation here. And you tell me what is going to be the goodwill under two methods, proportionate method and goodwill. VK sir, hello, Vijay sir.
Yes sir.
आप कोई भी एक पार्टिसिपेंट्स को बोलिए कि मैं सोमानी साहब को बुलाता हूँ. मिस्टर सोमानी, हेलो मिस्टर सोमानी, उनको अनम्यूट कीजिए. Mr. Somani, can you say something? Hello.
Yeah, he can unmute himself. I asked him.
आपने उनको अनम्यूट किया सर?
Yes sir.
ओके, सोमानी साहब, अब आप कंप्यूटर जी आपको प्रश्न पूछेंगे, आप उनका उत्तर दीजिएगा, ठीक है सर? हेलो.
Yes sir.
सोमानी सर, मैं आपको एक देता हूँ. You have paid a consideration of 2,50,000. Company A has acquired company B, and it has paid consideration of 2,50,000, and it has acquired 60% of the shares of the company B. 60%, okay, and the net assets of company B is say 3 lakhs, sir. Net assets are 3 lakhs. So can you give me the calculation? आप मुझे बोले, उसके अनुसार मैं काम करते जाऊंगा सर.
1,80,000.
Can I make block A?
Yeah.
Hello. Can I make block A? Now block B is comprised of what, sir? Consideration. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll write down consideration here, and I put my NCI here. Now what is NCI? 60. What is NCI, sir?
1,80,000.
Hello, sir. I acquired 60%.
So 3 lakhs का 60%.
Sir, I acquired 60%. That means जो acquire नहीं किया उसका क्या?
हाँ 40%. 1,20,000. 1,20,000.
So can I write my NCI is equal to 40%?
Yeah.
Okay. 40%. Okay, I'll do that. So I write 1,20,000 here.
Yes.
Okay. That total is 4,20,000. Sorry for the typo error. Okay. 3,70,000, right, sir?
Yeah.
So what is my goodwill? I have to reduce from this what, sir? Hello. I have to reduce from here what, sir? Net assets of B. What are the net assets of B, sir?
Minus 120.
So what is the goodwill, sir? Sumani sir, what is my goodwill here?
Hello.
What is the goodwill here, sir? I'm getting
70.
some answers. 70,000 rupees. Yes.
Yeah.
70,000. All right. Now let us take the other case that instead of 3 lakhs, your net assets are just net assets are say 4 lakhs rupees. Instead of 3 lakhs, the net assets of the acquiree are 4 lakhs rupees. So what has changed now? I should change one thing. 4 lakhs into 40% is 1,60,000. I think मुझे उसको और भी change करना पड़ेगा. I'll make it 5 lakhs rupees. Okay. All right. The net assets of acquiree is 5 lakhs rupees. Mr. Somani, आप अभी भी line पे है क्या sir? बने रहेगा line पर, हाँ?
Yes,
Stay
sir.
tuned. Yeah. If my net assets of the acquiree is 5 lakhs and my NCI is 40%, so my NCI will become 2 lakhs here. Are you with
Correct.
me?
Correct.
Correct. So my total of block A sigma is 4 lakhs 50,000 minus 5 lakhs, which is the net asset of the acquiree, is my, now this is not my goodwill. This will be my gain from bargain purchase. This is gain from bargain purchase. यहाँ पे मैंने क्या किया sir? I have measured the goodwill. I have to measure the NCI at the proportionate method, which is very cut and dried. 500,000 5 lakhs के 40% होते हैं 2 लाख. अब मान लीजिए, let us take the second case wherein I am measuring the NCI at the fair value. I am measuring the NCI at a fair value. Let us take the first example of 3 lakhs rupees. उसी तक सीमित रखते हैं, ठीक है? अब जब fair value करूंगा NCI का, तो जाहिर सी बात है कि this it will be always more than 120. It will be always more than 120. Now, why? I know Mr. Somani is going to ask me the question, because when you measure the NCI at the fair value, the global value of the goodwill is being taken into account. Global means including parents and including both NCI दोनों की. तो ये होगी तकरीबन से 1,50,000. All right, sorry, 1,50,000. So then this will remain same. सर एक बात ध्यान रहे कि मेरे जो नेट असेट्स है सर, उसमें कोई बदलाव नहीं आएंगे. करेक्ट सर? वेदर यू मेजर योर एनसीआई एट फेयर वैल्यू or at proportionate method, there won't be any difference in this numbers. कौन से numbers? जो numbers मैं bold कर रहा हूं उसमें कभी बदलाव नहीं आएंगे. बदलाव कहां पे आएगा सर? बदलाव यहां पे आएगा जिसको मैंने रेड मार्क की है सर. जहां पे मैंने रेड मार्क किए हैं, these numbers will change, and you can see when I'm measuring the goodwill, NCI at a fair value, goodwill is always higher as compared to the when the NCI is measured at the proportionate method. Are you clear, Mr. Somani? Are you clear?
Yeah.
Guys, other guys, are you clear about this thing? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. चलो. Because आपने बोला था ना
थोड़ा सा बाउंसर गया था इसके.
कोई बाउंसर गया तो अभी तो अंदर गया कि नहीं सर?
अभी घुस गया पूरा अंदर. चलो
अच्छी बात है, अच्छी है. अभी आप सब म्यूट हो जाइए एंड मैं अभी जा रहा हूँ मेरे स्लीव्स में, बट आई नीड टू चेंज दिस. अलाउ मी अ मिनट सर प्लीज. आई विल चेंज दिस बिजनेस कॉम्बिनेशन एंड आई नाउ शेयर. वीके सर, आप अभी आपको दिख रहे सर स्लाइड सर? कैन यू सी द स्लाइड सर? 1,50,000, Mr. Rajesh ने सवाल पूछा, how did you get 150? That is the estimated value of the NCI fair value. एक बात always ध्यान रखें राजेश भाई कि जब भी whenever the NCI is measured at the fair value, it's always bound to be more than the proportionate method. It is bound to be more than the proportionate method. So that's an estimated figure I gave you for the illustration purpose only. I have not done any number crunching. All right. अब बात करते हैं previously held equity interest measured at the acquisition date fair value. Now, what do you mean by that? That means that when you acquire a company, you don't acquire normally in one go. You don't acquire in one go, but you acquire in phases. Um, First, you acquire 10%, then you acquire 20%, and then you acquire another 40%, giving you 70% in total and giving you the control. So the difference between the acquisition date fair value and the carrying amount is recognized in the profit and loss account. I think there is an example here. Then we'll see that example how it works out, sir. But this is nothing but the part of this. हमने यहाँ पे देखा ना, fair value of previously held equity interest is also forming part of your block A, the consideration. If there is an example, we'll see. Otherwise, I'll make the example for you only. Now, the gain from bargain purchase arises, we've seen, when the net assets acquired are more than the sigma A block consideration, NCI, and the fair value of previously held equity interest, which normally happens very rarely. But when this happens, standards say that don't recognize directly in the income statement, but wait for some time, do this exercise once again, because normally excess gain from bargain purchase आमतौर पे नहीं होता है. And then there is something called measurement period, which is the period of not exceeding 1 year from the acquisition date. Now, why do you need the measurement period, sir? Because when you acquire a company, not everything is ready. आपने ड्यू डिलिजेंस किया हो, उसके बावजूद भी certain valuations are yet to come, certain litigations are not over, case outcomes are still pending, so you assign some provisional value कि चलिए भाई हमको evaluation का पूरा figure नहीं मिला है, तो हम valuation estimated value of that asset, let us keep it about 5 lakhs rupees, but this is just an estimate, and you don't wait for this valuation to come, because आपका काम तो पूरा करके बढ़ना है आगे. 99% काम पूरा हो गया, only one valuation report is pending. Do you want to hold on to business combination accounting? Not done, sir. चलो एक काम करते सर, इसे हम we assign some provisional value. So you assign some provisional value and you go ahead and do the counting. But अब कब तक इंतजार करेंगे? कब तक करेंगे? 1 साल, 2 साल, 3 साल? नहीं. Standard says that the measurement period starts from the date of acquisition. Mind you well, not the year end or not the reporting date. It starts to the date of acquisition and it ends as soon as the acquirer receives the information which is desired. But in any circumstances, it will not go beyond 1 year from the date of acquisition. All right, but what happens? What happens when you have this information within 1 year? Then you retrospectively adjust the amount of the provisional amount based on the new information based on the circumstances. Sir, guys, would you like to have a ready on the spot simulation for this measurement period, sir? मुझे पता सोमानी साहब पहले हाँ बोलेंगे. सोमानी साहब, you are from which place? Mr. Somani Vidyadhar.
Mumbai. I am from Mumbai. Mumbai.
Huh?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. बॉम्बे से. ओके, बॉम्बे से है मेरा दोस्त. चलिए सर, एक केस ले लेते हैं, लाइव केस लाइक संजीव कपूर. ओके, चलिए. All right, you have to be very, very attentive, friends. My date of acquisition is say 1st June 2019. So the maximum period of acquisition date, a measurement period could be 31st of May 2020. It cannot go beyond this. It could be 31st May 2020 or when you got the desired information. Now let us see the consideration paid by you. I'm presuming that you're acquiring 100%, so that there is no lafda of NCI. Okay, so you are acquiring a company for say how much? Okay, bada figure रखते, right? All right, so I acquired this company for this consideration of about this floating menu is sometimes creating a problem. Okay, sir. So that you can understand. Okay, so I paid this money for acquisition of a company. It's about say 10 lakhs rupees I paid. Okay, fine. I am acquiring 100%. And the net assets is about say 800,000. So what is my goodwill? My goodwill is 2 lakhs rupees. Fine. Now this 8 lakhs is comprised of one intangible assets जिसकी वैल्यू मैंने रखी है 1 लाख रुपए, राइट सर? जिसकी वैल्यू मैंने रखी है 1 लाख. Okay, all right. Now what has happened, sir, when I conclude account on 31st March 2020, and let us presume that this has a useful life for 10 years. So 10 years useful life, that means I will amortize this intangible assets at 10,000 rupees per annum. Sir, आप इतनी बात समझ गए कि मैंने 10 लाख रुपए दिए, मेरे net assets जो है वो 8 लाख रुपए है, and goodwill है मेरी 2 lakhs. And so do you all agree with this calculation? इस calculation में कोई problem है? Mr. Ravik, Mr. Rasik, I'll come back to your question because your question seems to be not in tangent with this. You didn't understand this, but 1 lakh rupees, did you goodwill? 2 lakhs rupees good. I paid 10 lakhs rupees to buy a company. I am acquiring net assets of 8 lakhs. So my goodwill is 2 lakhs. Did you understand this or no? Batai? You didn't understand this, that 2 lakhs rupees is my goodwill? Mr. D. Guru Raj, you didn't understand that goodwill is 2 lakhs rupees. Rajesh, you didn't understand what is a goodwill. So when when I paid 10 lakhs and I acquired a set of 8 lakhs rupees, मैं 8 लाख की चीज मुझे नेट असेट मिल रहे, उसका मैं भुगतान कर रहा हूं 10 लाख. So I am paying extra for that. Now this extra is nothing but the goodwill. Correct, sir? I think I gave the example here. In this example, I have paid 3,70,000 जबकि मुझे मिला है 3 लाख, तो मेरी goodwill है 70,000 rupees. So in this case, I paid 10 lakhs and I got a set of 8 lakhs, so my goodwill is 2 lakhs rupees. I hope you understand this. Now, this 8 lakhs is comprised of an intangible asset, जिसकी useful life है 10 years. So if 10 years की useful life है and 1 lakh is the carrying amount, what do you think should be the annual depreciation, sir? Amortization? What should be the annual amortization, sir? 10,000. What should be the amortization for 9 months? This is per annum, right? This is per annum. What should be the amortization for 9 months? So I'll do like this divided by 12 multiplied by 9, 7,500. Any problem in this calculation, sir? Please, I want everyone to understand this question. Do you have any problem in understanding the figure of 7,500? Hello, do you have any problem in understanding the figure of 7,500? No problem, it's fine. So when I close my account on 31st March 2020, I have amortized this asset by 7,500. So I have passed an entry, debit P&L account 7,500 and credit accumulated amortization 7,500. Now, this is my last day of This is my last day of the measurement period. So on presume that 25th of April, on 25th of April 2020, you are getting an information. You are getting an information. Okay, boss, this value should not be 1 lakh, it should be 2 lakhs. Now, what has happened in my books of account? My goodwill was 2 lakhs, and my now I'll explain you one more thing so that you are very clear. As at 31st March 2020, my goodwill was 2 lakhs. My intangible assets was 100,000 minus 7,500. So this was the carrying value. So are you clear about these two carrying values? Guys, are you clear about the two carrying values of 2 lakhs and 92,500? Hello? Yes, sir? Fine. Okay, fine. Now I'm getting the information. Okay, sir, this was actually 2 lakhs rupees. ये 1 lakh नहीं है, 2 lakhs थे. So now what do I do, sir? I put this 2 lakhs rupees here and not 1 lakh rupees. But then my calculation will now be like this. This includes 1 lakh rupees of the intangible assets. Now, since it is going up, let me do this calculation again here so that you will get these figures. All right. So when I get the information that this intangible assets is actually valued at 2 lakhs rupees and not 1 lakh, I increase my this figure by 8 lakhs rupees plus 1 lakh. Now, what is my goodwill, sir? My goodwill has come down by 1 lakh. I have to do these calculations retrospectively. So when my intangible asset, has become 2 lakhs rupees and it has a useful life of 10 years. So what will be my depreciation per annum? My per annum depreciation will be 20,000. And what will be my depreciation for the 9 months period? It will be into 15,000. So I'll do these calculations retrospectively, and now the revised calculation will be my goodwill will be 1 lakh and my intangible assets will be 200,000 minus 15,000 rupees. This is going to be this is the original and this is revised. So what you've done, sir? You've done these calculations retrospectively. Friends, and this is a very good concept and the new concept about the measurement period, which is not there under the AS 14. So I would like every one of you to say whether you understood or not. Don't feel shy and don't tell me that you understood, you're not understood, you understood for sake of understanding, sir. When I did it calculated, you can see the difference. As a result of increase in this intangible assets of 1 lakh, my net assets have gone up to 9 lakhs, as a result of which my goodwill has come down, which I am revising here. Correct, sir? And you can also see here that carrying value was about which was 92,400 has now come down to 1,85,000 because of this 200,000 is this minus 15,000 9 months calculation, sir. So are you clear about this concept, sir? Yes or no? How to do the accounting of transaction in the acquisition or the sale of asset post acquisition by the acquiree? How to do the accounting, my dear friend? There is one slide about the post acquisition accounting also, and let's consider that. Let's have a look at this post acquisition accounting also. It depends upon what asset you are accounting for. Okay. So this is about the measurement period and subsequent measurement that is known as the post acquisition accounting. the reacquired asset is recognized as an intangible asset, and it is amortized over the balance contractual period. If it is an indemnified asset, then it is measured at the each subsequent reporting period on the same basis as the item to be indemnified. Then contingent liability, you know, what is the contingent liability? That if you recollect, all items of the acquiree is to be measured at the fair value by the acquirer on the acquisition date, seven exceptions, and one of them was a contingent liability. समय बहुत कम है, नहीं तो मैं आपको पूरा समझा था कि कंटिंजेंट लायबिलिटी में क्या ट्रिक किया जाता है. Normally the contingent liability is like this: either it is a possible obligation, that's a future obligation, or it is a present obligation. So naturally possible obligation is never taken recognized at all, but in case of a present obligation, it is to be recognized only following two things are okay: whether the amount can be measured reliably, or whether there is a possibility of at least likelihood of make the payment. तो या तो आप श्योर नहीं है अमाउंट कितना देना, या तो आप यही नहीं तय कर पाते कि आपको कितने पैसे देने हैं. करेक्ट, देने की पड़ेगी कि नहीं, whether you will be liable to pay, and if at all you are liable to pay, how much you are liable to pay. So the two things: A, the possibilities, and B, the uh, uh, measurement of the amount to be paid. So when these things are not sure, you recognize as a contingent liability. But when it comes to the business combination, even if you are able to judge that how much money you have to pay, even if with the possibility कि नो मुझे 2 लाख तो पे करना है, you still recognize this amount even if it is not sure that we have to make the payment. So then you have to take into account okay, had you applied in this 37, what would have been the liability. So this is the subsequent measurement of the assets and liabilities. And then so contingent liability could be of debt or equity. If it is equity, then it is not measured. Now, what is a contingent liability? That you may have to pay something to them. You have to pay something to them, and if you agree to pay them by an equity, then it is not remeasured. But if you agree to pay by a cash, which is the loan amount, then you measured at the fair value of the liabilities, and to be recognized at every financial year ending, and to be recognized in the profit and loss account. So these are very disclosures and the comparative. Friends, I can do one thing. Those who are interested, only for those, Mr. विजय जी,
Yes, sir.
अगर क्राउड इंटरेस्टेड है तो ही मैं एक थोड़ा सा सिमुलेशन में बना देता हूं. Otherwise, if they are not interested, then I may put an end here.
पोल डालूं कि आप चैट में पूछ लीजिए, नहीं तो आप बोलिए तो मैं एक पोल डालता हूं.
पोल डाल दीजिए. If they are agreeing, then we'll go ahead with one simulation which is here, and one simulation which I can do on this spot for them.
Yes, sir.
You are interested? Okay. Sure. Fine. All right, sure. Now then, let us take this example, sir. Aap, gentlemen, kindly unmute.
Nobody can unmute. किसको करना है बता दीजिए.
अरे guys, please mute yourself.
Nobody can unmute. आप बोलिए किसको करना है उसको करें.
Can I request you to kindly mute yourself, please? Please mute yourself. Thank you so much. All right. Now here is an example where that accountant had done some mistake. The cost of acquisition is 700, which is, I would put it, block A1 is 700. Is 300. Sir, I'm at a place which is near Vapi, and there's a power cut, but it's now working still on the inverter. So there's some reduction in the lights and all this. Please kindly bear with me. And it's okay. The fair value of the asset acquired is 300. So just a minute, plan. Okay. Yes, it's here. So the cost 700 is the cost of acquisition, which is a consideration. Let the net asset is acquired is 300, and so ideally my goodwill should be 400. But hold on, please hold on, sir. It's not 400. It's something else. Intangible assets not acquired by the acquiree was 100, जो अकाउंटेंट ने शायद नहीं लिया था सर. हाँ, contingent liability was 30 and restructuring provision was 70. Now this restructuring provision, let me give you information that this restructuring provision is not to be recognized as per the IndAS. Now let us see here. ये स्टेटमेंट बनाया था वो हमारे अकाउंटेंट साहब ने. उन्होंने क्या किया था सर, 700 एंड ये सब ले लिया, प्रॉफिट बिफोर द एमोर्टाइजेशन करके कर लिया. नाउ इन्होंने कहा कि देन उनकी गुडविल बनी 470. उनके मुताबिक 700 जो हमने कंसिडरेशन पे किया माइनस फेयर वैल्यू एंड ही एडेड रिस्ट्रक्चरिंग प्रोविजन, तो उन्होंने गुडविल बनाई 470. एंड वो जनाब ने क्या किया कि उनका प्रॉफिट बिफोर अमोर्टाइजेशन था 140 एंड उन्होंने गुडविल को अमोर्टाइज कर दिया. जबकि मुझे पता है कि शायद सोमानी साहब ने ये सवाल पूछा था कि शुड आई अमोर्टाइज द गुडविल. द आंसर इज नो, you are not supposed to amortize the goodwill. Goodwill is always tested for impairment. तो उनके मुताबिक प्रॉफिट इतना आया है यहाँ पे. अब हमने जब रियली अप्लाई किया इन डेज, तो हमने देखा कि माय कॉस्ट ऑफ एक्विजिशन इज 700, फेयर वैल्यू ऑफ द नेट एसेट इज 300. दैट्स फाइन. वो तो सर यहाँ भी था सर, तो गलती, हाँ ये भी यहाँ पे था, तो यहाँ तक तो हम सब सेव है. दिस सब सलामत है अप टू 2 पॉइंट. बट देन ये भी क्लियर है सर, परफेक्टली ऑल राइट. यहाँ पे तो ये तीनों चीज बराबर है. व्हाट इज कॉस्ट ऑफ एक्विजिशन, fair value of the assets and restructuring provision, that's fine. But what he has not done, sir, what he missed out was this 2 point, contingent liability of 30 and intangible assets not acquired, not recognized by the acquiree. So friends, ध्यान रहे, yes power आ गया, ध्यान रहे sir that ध्यान रहे sir that even if the intangible assets was not recognized by the acquiree, they have to be still recognized at fair value on the acquisition date by the acquirer. So the Mr. Perfect accountant ने बनाया तो 700 तो क्या था सर, ये भी सर इसमें भी हमें प्रॉब्लम नहीं, ये उन्होंने assets में किए. So 300 plus 100, the net assets have become 400. So this will naturally going to reduce my goodwill. And contingent liability also is again reducing my net assets and the restructuring provisions. Fine, sir. So now we come to know, okay, this is 300 plus 100, 400, and minus 100 is equal to, yes. So my goodwill is 400. Profit before amortization is, now this he has taken into account amortization of the intangible assets, which was not recognized by my dabba accountant. Dabba accountant ने क्या किया था? What he has done? He has amortized the goodwill, which is not permissible. He has not taken into consideration contingent 100 intangible asset, which we have taken here. Goodwill is to be impaired, not to be amortized. So this is amortized intangible assets at 10. And so this is working done by them. And now let's see one more example here, that ABC acquires 80% interest in DEF for 900,000. The carrying amount and the fair value of the DE fees, financial assets and liabilities were as under follow. अब हमने आपको कहा कि when the acquirer acquires the control of the acquiree, the acquirer has to remeasure all identifiable assets and liabilities of the acquiree at the fair value on the acquisition date. And let's do this exercise. These are the figures given by the carrying value of the DEF. But acquirer का दायित्व है कि he has to do followings. What? Remeasure. इसकी fair value बनाई 350. देखिए assets तो था ही नहीं, इन्होंने recognize किया 200. Then current assets were 400, which are now valued at 350. Liabilities were 300, उनको बरकरार रखा. Contingent liability का उन्होंने इकरार किया. So now your net assets are 570. देखिए book value कितनी थी? 475, and this is 570. Friends, I must say something, that those who have sat here are now going to get the real further important things. Going forward, मान लीजिए this is DEF is a private limited company. Acquirer is doing all this exercise on the date of acquisition as required by the IndAS 103 acquisition method. But when the acquirer is doing all this, acquirer ने सब किए उसके बावजूद भी acquirer आपके बुक में टस से मस नहीं करेंगे. Acquirer will not make any change in his books of account. It will continue to have his own balance sheet and filing his own MCA returns, GST, जो सब income tax में करेंगे खुद अपने हिसाब से ही करेंगे. क्या हिसाब? 375 current assets, this and this. It will not take into account because वो कहते हैं कि आप कुछ भी करो, मुझे तो मेरे accounts follow करने हैं. तो इसका मतलब क्या सर? इसका मतलब ये है A, to measure the goodwill on the date of acquisition or the gain from bargain purchase, and very important friends, going forward, consolidation of the DEF by ABC will be based on this numbers only. अब numbers में क्या होगा बताता हूं सर. अगले साल इस acquisition के पश्चात जब DEF अपने फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स भेजेंगे तो इसमें दो चीज गायब होगी. एक ये गायब होगा और दूसरा इस पे amortization. Correct, sir? So when ABC gets the data from DEF, ABC have to keep in mind that look, this is missing, और इन्होंने depreciation 375 पे किया होगा तो वो करेंगे जिससे कहते हैं you find something called consolidation adjustment. These are the consolidation adjustments. So you revise so ABC will revise the financial statements of DEF for the limited purpose of this calculations and consolidation going forward. अब देखते हैं इसका consolidation कैसे हुआ. नहीं sorry कैसे हुआ. 900,000 वो आपका consideration, and don't forget that your NCI is 20%. 20% of 570 is 114. So this is 1014 minus the fair value of the net asset acquired is 570. My goodwill is 444. We have deferred, we have ignored the deferred tax assets here. Guys, did you understand here? Yes or no, please? Did you understand? All right. Would you still like to know one example? Would you still like to have one example, sir? Sure. चलिए. This example, yes. So one is आप एक बार ध्यान रखें कि ये जो सब मैंने पूरी कहानी की is applicable for the consolidated financial statements. Now let me change, sir. Let me change. I'm pausing here. I'm going to new share. New share is this, and then let me resume. Guys, can you see the Excel file here? I'll increase the font size. Can you guys, can you see the this Excel sheet, sir? Yes, you can see the Excel sheet. That's fine. Just a minute. Phone करूँ तुमने webinar में सुसाइड हाँ? वो phone करूँ तुमने कुछ. Now let us see. There was some very emergency call, so I have to see. Now हमने कहा कि previously acquired equity interest, previously had equity interest. सर ये बहुत ही important है because आज तक हमने हमारे वर्तमान accounting standard में ऐसी कभी भी नहीं देखी थी जो जलवा में आपको अब दिखाने वाला हूँ. चलिए. In year 1, you have acquired 20%. You acquired 20% for 200. In year 2, you have acquired another 20%, and that is उसके बाद आपके सहयोग के बाद उनका काम बढ़ा, उनकी गुडविल बढ़ गई. तो अगर इसके लिए अगर आपने दिया था, that means 10% you paid 100 for this. So now you'll say 300 for acquiring 20%. Then in year 3, you are acquiring another 20%, and now you're paying 600 for that. So here, if you go to see what you're going to pay, what you paid here is, I would say 200 divided by 10. So you paid 100 for that, sir. And यहाँ पे आपने पे किए 150 के हिसाब से. So please allow me, this man is impatient, please allow me a call. राजू भाई, हाँ हाँ बोलो बोलो. Every alternate, yeah, I'll call. Okay, so यहाँ पे आपने, you are muted, you're unmuted by the host. Okay, okay, thank you sir, very sensible of you, very sensible of you sir. मान गए, इसे कहते चकोर host. Very good. So here I have paid at 150 and here I have paid 300 for 10%, right sir? Okay. ये बदलाव आया because you acquired a company आपके सहयोग से. अब for this 20% you paid 600. So my block A, देखिए sir, block A, I have paid consideration of 600. All right, this is the consideration I have paid. And my, what is the NCI, sir? I have since acquired 60%. My NCI is 40%. NCI is 40%. I need to give one more information, and that is the net assets of the acquiree. Net assets of the acquiree is about, say, kitna rakhe, sir? 1000 rakhe? No. Let's give 500. Anyway, regardless of the whether, damn it, हम देखेंगे भी 500 goodwill या जो भी को है we are concerned. So my NCI is 40% of 500, so which is 200. So any problem up to here, sir? Any problem up to here? Fair value of previously held equity in trust. Okay, करेंगे sir, हम करेंगे, उस पे आएंगे, don't worry sir. हाँ, we'll come to that. So this will form your block A, and block net assets of the acquiree is what, 500. तो सर ये आपकी गुडविल आने वाली है. कोई बात नहीं सर, ये आपकी गुडविल है, हमारी गुडविल है. ऑलराइट, 800 माइनस C. नाउ अगर हम ये पुराने जो हमारी जो इन्वेस्टमेंट्स है, had we not considered that, my goodwill would have been 300 only. बट दोस्तों एक बात ध्यान रहे, ये कंट्रोल आपने जो हासिल किया है तो उसमें इसकी भी भूमिका है. This 40% is also contributed. This 40% also has contributed to your power. तो आप उससे कैसे भूल सकते हैं, आपकी नींव की ईंट को कैसे भूल सकते हैं? So fair value of previously held equity interest. तो अगर मैंने 20% के लिए यहाँ पे दिए हैं 600, तो 40% के लिए मुझे कितना होगा? Double the amount. Okay, so I must, this is the fair value of previously held equity interest. अब आप मुझे पूछेंगे कैसे आएंगे? Sir, for 20%, power is gone once again. This 20% के लिए मैंने अगर 600 किया, तो 40 के लिए कितना करूंगा? 1200 करूंगा. क्लियर ना सर? Okay. So now my total amount is 2000. Net asset is 500. My goodwill is 1500. This is what is meant by fair value of previously held equity interest. जी हाँ, ऐसे में सब जाने वाला नहीं हूं. आपने भी प्रश्न नहीं पूछा मगर उसका उत्तर मैं दूंगा आपको. क्या है उत्तर? उत्तर ये है that I placed value of 1200. My acquisition cost was 200. My acquisition cost was again 300. So this is the profit I made. क्योंकि मैंने 1200 की गिनती की, यहाँ पे 500 is my cost of acquisition, so 700 is my profit, which I have to pass an entry in my consolidated financial statements. दोस्तों ध्यान रहे, ये पूरी जो प्रक्रिया है ये आप करेंगे CFS में and not in SFS, not in FSN. I can see something is chat now. How come E figure है? How come E figure have come? How come E figure have come, sir? E figure में आप कौन सी बात करते हैं? यहाँ के फिगर सर. हाँ देखो सर, सीधी बात है कि मैंने 20% के लिए दिए हैं 200, तो 10 के लिए कितना दूंगा मैं? 100. मैंने यहाँ पे 20 के लिए दिए हैं. This is just for the calculation purpose. I mean the memorandum. Yeah, very important is this. Very important is this. Very important is this figure. और 600 अगर मैंने दिए हैं 600 रुपए दिए हैं 20% हासिल करने के लिए, तो 10 के लिए मैं दे रहा हूँ 10 के लिए मैं दे रहा हूँ 300। अगर 10 के लिए 300 दे रहा हूँ तो 40 के लिए दे रहा हूँ मैं 1200। So this is just a memoranda figure that for every 10% how much you paid, for every 10%, ये कुछ मायने रखता है ये, that for 20% if I am paying 600, then for 40% I am paying the double. My valuation has to be double. So the fair value of my 40% holding, which is this, technically known as fair value through a fair value of acquisition date, fair value of previously held equity interest. So this is how the calculations are being done for the thing. So my dear friends, I hope you understood this. What happens if the control is acquired with less than 50% of all? See, it doesn't make any difference, sir. If the control is acquired with 20% or less, then let's do the simulation. I don't pay this, I don't pay this, I don't pay this. Okay. So you presume that control is acquired at this point in time. So how much I paid, sir? I paid my consideration of 300. So in this case, my previously held equity interest again will be 300. And this will result in my goodwill of 300. That's it. Yeah. Good, sir. Very good. Who has said this? I must salute him. So wine, very good. The blogger said of this is into 60%. Yeah, I must see his name and I want him to have been vocal. Now, sir, sir जी, विजय कुमार जी, आप नितिन कुमार को प्लीज आवाज दीजिए सर, नितिन कुमार को आवाज दीजिए। नितिन कुमार, कल भी आपने बहुत बेहतरीन उत्तर दिए थे। Nitin, please unmute yourself and say something, please.
Yeah, hi.
Hi, Nitin. I really appreciate.
Thank you,
Because
sir. Thank you.
someone asked me a question: what happens if you acquire the control when you have still less than 50% of the holding? So मैंने यहाँ पे उदाहरण दिया, उसको तुरंत परिवर्तन कर दिया यहाँ पे, but केवल एक चीज मेरे ध्यान से रह गई थी, and I'm sorry about that. That you drew my attention, my dear friend. Here the NCI is not 40% but 60%. Thank you, Nitin. Nitin, you are from which place?
Delhi.
Delhi.
Yeah.
Very good. Nitin, I'm very happy you're very understood. I hope you understood this concept, Nitin.
Yeah, I've done that.
अच्छा, okay, sir. So, sir, मैं आपसे इजाजत मांगता हूँ. If you have any questions, please ask me. And guys, my promise, this PPTs will be shared before 9 p.m. today with the moderators, with the VK Sab and Shailendra. Shailendra, are you there on the line, please?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
मैं आपने जो मुझे ईमेल भेजा है इनवाइट पे, उस पे भेज देता हूँ. काइंडली शेयर. सर, एक बात मैं कहता हूँ, ये जो पीपीटीज मैं आपसे शेयर करता हूँ ना, उसमें एक शर्त है मेरी, एंड दिस शर्त इज अबाउट द शेयरिंग ऑफ द पीपीटीज. This share is about the pairing of duty. Please share with as many as you want to. No issue. जितने लोगों के साथ शेयर करना है कीजिए, because the more you share, the more you gain. Okay, sir?
कल वाले भी भेजने हैं सर.
मुझे पता है सर, कल वाला भी भेजूंगा, उसकी एक्सेल फाइल भी भेजूंगा एंड भेजने के सर. तो सर आप प्लीज
One more channel left, sir. What about this?
सॉरी जी
Left.
सर, जिन्होंने कुछ पार्टिसिपेंट्स दे रहे अपनी पर्सनल ईमेल भी, लाइक रसिक सिंघानिया साहब दे रहे, बट सर ये सबको इंडिविजुअल करना मेरे लिए थोड़ा मुश्किल